This is a Sapphire-rated presentation. Viewer discretion is advised.
Look at us up on Doc Reo TV. Hey, yeah, it's a Doc and Di show. Hey, yeah, it's a Doc and Di show. It's a Doc and Di show. Doc and Di. And that leads me into another statement. Vibrations that we feel.
Okay.
Vibrations of words that we feel. This is a big one.
Okay.
Racism. And this is where I go to. I got a clip that I want to show you guys, and I'm going to actually show it to you too. This clip has to do with racism, that Paula Deen thing, plus the murder trial. Plus the murder trial and the racism. They basically using two words, and I'm going to say the words like he did, just for the sake. He used a couple of words. One was cracker. One was nigger. One was honky, and he was making a comparison, an actual technical comparison. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm not using them to be racist at all. I am actually trying to make a journalistic comparison of these words and get you guys' opinion on how they make you feel. And with that being said, I'm going to play this clip real quick and see how it'll talk a little bit about it, and we'll just play the clip.
Okay, so I'm going to have a conversation now that may make some people very uncomfortable. It's a conversation, though, that we as a society need to have, and I hope you sit down and I hope you watch the next part of this broadcast. It's about words, like some of these words here, this word, but mostly about this word, about the word. I'm going to say the word during this, too. Nigger, honky, cracker. These words can cause a visceral reaction when people hear them. You may have even flinched when I said them. But they played a pivotal role in two major stories this week, the George Zimmerman murder trial and the allegations around celebrity chef Paula Deen. It's a catalyst for an honest and difficult conversation. That's all we're trying to do here, is to get people to talk about it, okay? So we're going to have a discussion here without censorship, without code words, without awkwardness. And we've got a group of people to help drive this conversation. Buck Davis is a diversity and inclusion expert. Mark Lamont Hill is a professor at Columbia University. And human behavior expert Wendy Walsh. They've got a lot to say about this particular subject. But first, let's take a look at how we got here.
I'll play a little bit more, and later on, at the end of the show, I'm going to let you guys hear the actual, before we sign off, let you hear the actual rest of the clip. So I'm not going to play too much of it right now, but I want you guys to at least get into this so that it gets your mind going, because there's some thoughts here that come out about these words.
This classic Saturday Night Live sketch ran unbleeped in 1975.
Jungle Bunny. Pack of wood. Birdhead. Cracker.
But it probably wouldn't run today. Why? Have we lost our sense of humor?
What was so profound about that sketch wasn't just that they got away with using, let's say, the N-word and a lot of other racial slurs, but what that sketch really demonstrated was that certain slurs there are simply no trump cards for, and the N-word is one of them.
Okay, so, we all know about the Paula Deen, she's losing her endorsement money, all that, but there's another segment of this clip that, talks about the trial, the court case, the Zimmerman court case, and the use of the word cracker. And without even going into that, that comparison between Paula Deen being, 60 some odd years old, and
from the South.
Yeah, from the South. So she knows the history of both words before she even uses it, compared to a 19-year-old. Or an 18-year-old
gets it dropped in music.
Gets it dropped in music, gets it from what we hear in society real quick, and hasn't really learned the history of a word. It hasn't been old enough. If she was 40 years old, they're lot less of a responsibility. You can't make a racial comparison like that. But I wanted to bring these words up specifically, get you guys' opinions. See if you guys ever thought about using these words. And how they affect you in the community, in your life, in your daily walks of life, even if it's the N-I-double-G-A word. how does that affect you? How does that come across to you from music, from society? We'd like to hear more about that. So please send us your thoughts.
My thoughts, well, our president just used it.
I know.
I mean,
making a comparison.
Making a statement.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, and actually, it's very interesting over the last few years how much more frequently this has been brought to the foreground of our day-to-day lives. Yes. It really is, because I mean, I don't think I've been living in a hole for the last 2 decades. I really don't.
But we grew up in a hole.
We grew up in a very
racial world inside of a non-racial.
We grew up in such a liberal society in our background.
Yes.
And one of the things for me being, guess what? I'm white. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Is she?
But
I thought she was Latin.
I got a lot of stuff going on, but when I have to check that little box, it's Caucasian. And when I was growing up, because of the background, I mean, we talked about busing into school. I bust in from a really nice part of LA into South Central to go to a performing arts school.
I love that school.
It was an amazing school, and it was an amazing experience, because being in junior high in those impressionable years, I didn't really... I mean, I knew that people's colors were different. I knew that there were Mexicans and blacks and whites, and there was a difference. But in that sense, but I didn't know there was we weren't taught that there was a difference. There was no difference between us. We were all equals, and we were never, those society standards were just on the outsides of those walls for us, which I'm so grateful for because of my exposure.
That was the first time I actually met the first fully interracial kid. I mean, he was where you couldn't tell whether or not he was white or black. You know what I mean? He had curly hair, so he kind of looked Jewish in the sense of culture-wise. You know what I mean?
No, the Jew fro is a real thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. If you go from the fact of the Ashkenazi culture, more of that culture had the fro, then So,
I mean... We're no holds barred here. We're not being racist. I'm not being racist. I've been called a lot of things, but I don't think racist.
And I think in this show we're being a little bit more politically correct on how we say it, just because we want you to think about the stuff we're talking about.
But I think.
At that school, the mom. The mother, sorry, I forgot to. The mother of that child said one day there will be a world where all of us are the same color, same hair, and we'll start talking about eyes, nose, mouth.
Right.
You know, it'll always be some kind of stereotype. And I've talked about this before, but that was where I'm at 32nd, where we had this world that we could go into that was totally not the streets of LA.
Right. You know? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was. I'm very grateful and lucky to have had that experience, but because of that. I think it puts me in a unique situation. You know, it's kind of like if you go to, that old SNL clip of Eddie Murphy going in whiteface and walking around New York. Yep. What are you buying the paper? Why are you giving me money for the newspaper? They're free. You know, that thing. And every once in a while, I kind of feel like that when
That's interesting.
I'm in a unique situation where in one aspect of my life, I am around a bunch of 60-something-year-old Republican men, white men.
Wow.
And they talk very freely amongst themselves. And they talk freely in front of me because I'm a blonde-haired white girl. And the things that are said are sometimes really shocking. But again, look at the age. This goes into the show All in the Family. Yeah. That would never fly this day and age. That show would never be. I
actually love that show.
And I grew up on that show.
You know, because it made a statement.
That damn Bullock and the meathead and the...
People thought the guy was racist, but no, the whole purpose of that show was to make that statement.
Right.
Like what we just saw.
Was to shock you, but... That even now would never fly.
Neither one. SNL can't fly like that.
No. And actually, there's an...
And it should be able to. I mean...
oh gosh, I'm going to mess it up. I can't think of it. But there's an old sketch on SNL that Eddie Murphy did.
Mm-hmm. What was he doing in it?
You can't find it. It is completely banned. You cannot find it anywhere. I will
Really?
find out the name of it because I can't think of it right now. But my boss was we were talking about this similar topic of conversation and how,
Excuse me.
you know, once upon a time you could push the limits through comedy. Mm-hmm. And some of Eddie Murphy's best work, in my opinion, was on Saturday Night Live.
Mm-hmm.
But this one in particular, and I don't even think you can find the buckwheat anymore. Really, that's really hard to find.
Buckwheat is hard.
It's really hard to find.
Hard.
But at that point in time in our society, I mean, were we more liberal?
He was making fun of a TV show that was played on the air. Our Gang.
Absolutely.
Come on, you can't make fun of the culture that you're living in.
But have we gotten as a
continue it for history's sake? We can't see it for history's sake.
As a society, we've gotten so politically correct that we can't even make fun of ourselves because it's
no.
inappropriate.
See, that's what kills me. They ban Eddie Murphy stuff, but you have Birth of a Nation can be found. I can find Birth of a Nation anywhere.
I'm not familiar with it.
Birth of a Nation was the quote unquote biggest, most controversial racist movie.
Oh,
and it basically was a document, like a fictional documentation of American history, how it was like you saw a family, a white family,
mm-hmm.
how they lived, and you saw how they lived with slaves, and you saw how they treated, and this was how the nation was being born.
Okay.
So this was supposed to be a mark saying, our nation is racist, our nation is this, and it's still to this day controversial. But Eddie Murphy was banned in the 70s.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
This movie was made way before that. And now Dave Chappelle's not banned. I mean, he was banned.
He banned himself.
But, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Dave Chappelle's wide open. So why can't we pull out the archives of Richard Pryor and show it to the world?
I think that making people uncomfortable makes them think. So I think being too politically correct is becoming detrimental to our society, personally.
Is it detrimental? Seriously?
Well,
because
once again, what am I talking about? What are we talking about now? It's back on the forefront over the last few years. I mean, this whole if we weren't so afraid to talk about it, maybe it wouldn't be so taboo and it wouldn't keep popping up like this ugly little thing. Mm-hmm. You know, the riots that were just what about this the one with the mom that came out and beat her child for Ferguson?
Ferguson, right.
Ferguson.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, this kind of stuff is happening.
Yes.
Now. I don't understand. I don't understand. It breaks my heart, it makes me sad. And it is becoming, they've made it a black thing.
Do you really feel like it's a black thing?
I think they've made it a black thing. I don't think it's a black thing. I think they've made it. I think it's a culture thing.
That's what I feel like. I feel like it's a culture thing.
I feel like it's a culture thing. I don't believe it's a race card. I believe it's a culture thing. And I believe that...
I think we're having a hard time with it. And it shouldn't be so hard. It shouldn't be so difficult.
Maybe if we could talk about it more, it wouldn't be so hard.
And that's the point.
And I'm glad that we're talking about it here. And if you have opinions on this and you have, any ideas, I mean, as a society, we need to just get together and figure this out. We can't leave it to the politicians to figure out because look what they're doing. They're not doing anything. They're not fixing it. It's getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, Facebook yesterday. Back to Facebook again. But, yesterday there was a huge announcement of gay marriage.
Yes.
In the country. And it's an amazing thing for this country. It really is. This is a historical event. This also took place on the day of the memorial for the that church shooting.
It sure did. I did.
So, interestingly enough, one of the people that I know...
Charleston, South Carolina?
Yes, that one. Yep. Thank you for bringing it. But one of the things that one of the people that I follow on Facebook brought up was, let me quote it, because I was kind of surprised by it. And I had my own reaction to it. Give me a moment. And this is a black woman that made this statement.
Definitely that was definitely a tragic shooting.
It was terrible. And it was racially driven.
Yeah.
And there are going to be bad people out there. there are bad people.
Look at the Batman murderer.
Yeah, it's not just a black, white, Mexican,
Columbine,
Indian thing.
You're always going to have somebody.
You're always going to have an extremist out there. You can't govern crazy. The comment was today is the 9 victims of the tragic Charleston church killings funeral, and today they legalize marriage. The government knows how to distract society. Shaking my head. And this, this person as well. So.
Oh yeah.
So
I could see the reason why she said that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it didn't need to.
My reaction to this was all due respect to the victims of such a tragedy, but this vote had been on the books for months now. The courts have a schedule to follow, and I do not believe that this was politically motivated.
That's what I was getting at. I believe that the time frame it just so happened to be, but there could be sources that said, "Hey, this would be a great way to distract people as well."
This again creates that propaganda that we were just talking about.
Yeah,
I think
this
is a black woman that said this. It's
been going on for too long. And they've been working on it for too long nationwide for it to get down to this vote. And I do think there needs to have been more said about Charleston. I do think that. Unfortunately, it was overshadowed. News just happens out. News.
I had the TV on most of the day, and I woke up to the announcements of the law being passed by the Superior Courts. And then went to the gym, came home, and turned the TV back on, and every single channel had the president doing his eulogy.
Yeah.
So the media covered both sides fairly, I believe. I didn't see one side being...
I don't watch TV as much as I should anymore.
I keep it on the background. It's a background thing for me.
But I do watch TV through the internet, so I don't get the commercials.
But that was the experience. So reading that, it bothered me. It bothered me enough to where normally I would just kind of let that go and think, you know what, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Right.
And, as a white woman, who am I to interject something? But this is someone that I knew growing up. This is someone who had very strong feelings about this, and I didn't agree.
I could see that it hit her.
And I understand that. I don't think that she was completely informed when she made this statement. Mm-hmm. However, she's probably not the only person
that feels that way.
Yeah. And so again, this goes back to the Ferguson and the South Carolina. All of it. I mean,
Ferguson.
What was the Latino man that shot the black teenager in Florida? What was what was his name? You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah. At this
point, security guard. But yeah,
I'm losing all names here.
Sorry, but
no, I mean
because it keeps happening. It's not an isolated incident.
But it's like we were saying before, though. It's been happening.
It's been happening.
It's just now more publicized with media literacy.
So Wendy, listen, I said the word, and you said the N word. Do you think it's different? Like, do you have trouble saying that as a white woman?
Yeah, and I think you and I had this conversation on the phone last week, is it because my children are biracial, and they're young, and they're trying to figure out how to use words, and they have friends of many different ethnicities, of course. My 10-year-old said the other day, well, Mom, if you're not allowed to say the N-word, but Daddy is, what's the rule for me? So what do you tell a multiracial child?
Yeah. Okay, so
and I didn't really have a good, clear answer.
Mark, so do you think we hurt ourselves by not using these words? Because I have to tell you, when I was researching this, you saw the SNL clip, right? And they said, he goes nigger, and then the guy, and he does it. I've watched the Jeffersons, and they would say, you remember back, what was the saying that they used to say? Nigger, please. Like. Yeah. They said that on television in the 70s, but we can't say it now.
But black people said it because we moved into this post-racial ideology, this colorblind ideology that says if we don't talk about race, if we don't name race, if we don't speak certain racialized terms, and somehow the world will be racially better, and it's simply not true. I don't have a problem with a sitcom or with you as an esteemed journalist using the N-word in context because it has explanatory value. Do I think that white people should be using it? Absolutely not. Do I think someone with a biracial son should be confused about this? Absolutely not. I always find it remarkable that white people find the N-word usage such a complicated puzzle. It's not that complicated. Just don't use it. You just have to accept. Well, let me finish the thought though. You just have to accept that there are some things in the world, just at least one thing that you can't do that black people can, and that might just be okay.
Wait, I'm not talking about me. Wait.
Hang on, Buck. I'm going to let Wendy finish.
But what about the huge consumers? What about the huge consumers of hip-hop who have been exposed to a new sort of reclaimed usage of the word through music? So when a teenage boy uses it with his teenage friend as a term of endearment, I mean, I'm not fighting to use the word, but he's a consumer of hip-hop.
No, but
I'm talking about
Mark, I hear white kids said, I have to tell you, I was in Ohio in October, coming up on the election, and I was with a white kid in his late teens, early 20s in college. He was talking to another white friend, and they both were calling each other that term, and I was like, at first he was on the phone with him, and I thought he was talking to his black friend. And then we went and met him, and he was talking to his white friend. So it's not just black people using that word as a term of endearment.
I would be happy if no one used the word as a term of endearment. All I'm saying is that white teenager, that white 20-something should learn that, yes, you can listen to the music, yes, you can hear those words, but it doesn't mean you have to repeat them, because the truth is they can turn that music down and pull their pants up, and why are white people fighting so fiercely for the right to use the N-word? Just let it go.
I know one white person who's fighting fiercely to have a say in this, and that's Buck Davis. So Buck, go ahead.
I have trouble comparing those words, Don, because you can't compare the stories behind those words. So let's take cracker, for instance. If anybody calls me a cracker, big deal, there's no power associated with it. You call me a honky, there's no privilege, no power associated with it. Now, if generations of my people had been systematically, categorically discriminated against, and some of them lynched while mobs of people screamed, "Kill the honky," "Goodbye, cracker," that would be different for me. The narrative around the N-word carries so much evil attached to it that for many of us in the majority, we have a hard time connecting to the depth of the pain. That word has been used to demoralize, dehumanize, to paralyze, and sometimes kill groups of people. And from what I know from my friends and family who are people of color around the country, when they hear that word, it cuts to the bone.
Push button, baby. Doc Reo TV.